The conference room fell silent the moment Rowan Mercer placed his carefully prepared project on the polished oak table. Months of sleepless nights, countless sacrifices, and every ounce of hope he still carried rested inside that simple folder. Across from him, CEO Celeste Hawthorne barely glanced at the presentation before sliding it back with a cold expression. In less than 60 seconds, everything Rowan had fought for seemed to disappear. The rejection wasn't just another business decision. It became the spark that would ignite a disaster no one inside that towering glass headquarters could have imagined. 3 weeks later, the same project that had been dismissed without respect would expose the greatest mistake in the company's history, leaving thousands of employees wondering how everything had collapsed so quickly. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and standing up for what's right can change lives, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share it with someone who loves inspiring stories, and subscribe to Heartwarming Tales. Your support helps us continue bringing emotional stories like this every day. Rowan Mercer had never imagined his life would become a constant balancing act between spreadsheets and bedtime stories. At 36 years old, he wasn't chasing wealth or prestige anymore. Those dreams had faded the day his wife, Marisol, lost her battle with a sudden illness, leaving him to raise their 7-year-old daughter, Nora, alone. Every morning began before sunrise. Rowan packed lunches, braided Nora's hair with awkward determination, helped her find missing shoes, and rushed her to school before beginning his long commute to Hawthorne Dynamics, one of the fastest-growing technology companies in the country. His co-workers admired his work ethic but rarely understood the invisible weight he carried every single day. They saw a dependable project manager. They didn't see the father who quietly cried after bedtime because he feared he wasn't enough for the little girl depending on him. For nearly a year, Rowan had worked on an ambitious proposal that could modernize the company's aging security platform. He studied customer complaints during lunch breaks, spent weekends researching new solutions while Nora colored beside him, and even borrowed books from the local library because he couldn't afford expensive industry courses. His proposal wasn't flashy, but it was practical, affordable, and designed to prevent vulnerabilities that had begun appearing across the company's infrastructure. Rowan believed this project could protect the company from risks that executives seemed determined to ignore. Meanwhile, Celeste Hawthorne had built her reputation on confidence that bordered on arrogance. She had inherited Hawthorne Dynamics from her father and transformed it into a billion-dollar corporation through aggressive expansion and relentless cost-cutting. Investors praised her bold leadership. Business magazines celebrated her as one of the youngest female CEOs in the industry. Yet success had slowly built walls around her. She trusted market forecasts more than employees. She believed intuition from the executive suite outweighed experience from people working on the ground. Every meeting became another opportunity to reinforce authority rather than encourage ideas. When Rowan finally earned 15 minutes to present his proposal before the executive board, he entered the room carrying months of hope. He wasn't thinking about promotions or recognition. He was thinking about Nora's future. If this project succeeded, perhaps he could finally earn enough to move into a safer neighborhood where she could ride her bicycle without him worrying every minute. The presentation started well. Rowan explained the growing weaknesses in the company's digital infrastructure using clear examples and carefully collected evidence. Several board members leaned forward with interest. Some even nodded quietly as they reviewed the supporting documents. But Celeste remained distant. She glanced at her watch several times before interrupting the presentation. She dismissed the proposal as overly cautious, unnecessarily expensive, and incompatible with the company's aggressive expansion strategy. Without asking further questions or reviewing the detailed research, she rejected the project and instructed everyone to move on to the next agenda item. Rowan gathered his papers slowly. The silence hurt more than the rejection itself. No one defended his work. No one asked him to explain further. Months of sacrifice had been erased by a decision lasting less than a minute. That evening, Rowan arrived home exhausted. Nora immediately noticed the sadness hidden behind his tired smile. She quietly placed one of her handmade drawings into his hands. It showed the two of them standing beneath a bright blue sky beside a little house with flowers growing everywhere. Across the top she had written, "My daddy always fixes everything." Rowan smiled through tears. Children had a way of believing in people even after the world stopped believing in them. The following days became increasingly difficult. Rumors spread that Rowan's proposal had been unrealistic. Some co-workers avoided discussing it altogether, while others suggested he should simply move on. Yet Rowan couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. He continued monitoring the company's systems as part of his regular responsibilities, noticing warning signs becoming more frequent. Minor security alerts appeared across internal reports. Customer support tickets increased. Small failures began appearing like cracks beneath fresh paint. He submitted several internal warnings through official channels, carefully documenting every concern. Each report disappeared into layers of bureaucracy without meaningful response. 3 weeks later, everything changed. On a bright Tuesday morning, Hawthorne Dynamics experienced the largest cyber attack in its history. Customer records became inaccessible. Internal communication systems shut down. Production servers failed one after another. Clients across multiple countries lost confidence almost instantly. News outlets reported the crisis within hours. Social media exploded with criticism. Investors panicked. By the afternoon, the company's stock had fallen dramatically. Emergency meetings filled every conference room. Executives searched desperately for answers while outside the headquarters journalists crowded the sidewalks waiting for statements. As engineers struggled to contain the damage, one senior analyst discovered something remarkable. The exact vulnerabilities being exploited matched nearly every warning Rowan had documented in his rejected proposal. His forgotten folder suddenly became the most important document inside the building. Executives rushed to retrieve archived files. Celeste sat silently reading page after page of Rowan's recommendations. Every solution had been explained with remarkable clarity. Every potential risk had been predicted weeks before the attack occurred. The implementation cost had been modest compared to the billions now disappearing from the company's value. For the first time in years, Celeste realized she hadn't rejected an idea. She had rejected the person presenting it. Meanwhile, Rowan spent the crisis helping exhausted engineers restore critical systems. Despite everything that had happened, he refused to let bitterness guide his actions. Hundreds of employees depended on the company surviving. Thousands of customers trusted its services. His personal disappointment suddenly seemed much smaller than the lives affected by the disaster. Working almost without sleep, Rowan led a small technical team using many of the recovery methods outlined in his original proposal. Slowly, essential systems returned online. Customers regained access. Further damage was prevented. During one late afternoon, Celeste quietly entered the operations room where Rowan was coordinating recovery efforts. She watched him encouraging younger employees, sharing credit for every success, and refusing praise for himself. The man she had dismissed without respect had become the reason her company still had a future. Something inside her finally broke. She began reviewing her leadership over the past several years and recognized a painful pattern. Brilliant employees had left because they felt unheard. Departments competed instead of collaborating. Fear had replaced creativity. Decisions flowed from the top without listening to the people closest to the problems. The company's greatest weakness hadn't been technology. It had been pride. Several days later, after emergency operations stabilized, Celeste organized a company-wide meeting unlike any before. Thousands of employees watched through live streams while others gathered inside the headquarters auditorium. Instead of celebrating recovery, Celeste accepted responsibility. She admitted she had ignored expertise because it came from someone without an executive title. She acknowledged that leadership meant listening before deciding. Then, in front of everyone, she invited Rowan onto the stage. The applause lasted several minutes. Many employees stood to their feet. Some wiped away tears. Rowan looked uncomfortable with the attention. Recognition had never been his goal. He simply wanted the company to succeed. Celeste announced sweeping organizational reforms. Employee innovation councils would review major proposals. Leadership training would focus on humility and collaboration. Technical staff would gain direct access to executive decision-making. Most importantly, Rowan was offered the opportunity to lead the newly established Innovation and Security Division. He accepted only after asking one question. He wanted assurance that every employee, regardless of job title, would receive the opportunity to be heard. Celeste agreed without hesitation. Months passed. Hawthorne Dynamics slowly rebuilt customer trust through transparency, stronger security, and genuine cultural change. Industry experts eventually praised the company's remarkable recovery, though insiders knew the turnaround had begun with something far more powerful than technology. It began when one overlooked father refused to stop caring. At home, life also changed. Rowan no longer worked endless nights. He attended Nora's school performances without checking emails every few minutes. They planted flowers outside their new home just as she had drawn months earlier. Every evening they ate dinner together before reading stories on the couch. One afternoon, Nora proudly told her classmates that her daddy helped fix an entire company. Rowan smiled when he heard about it. She still believed he could fix everything. The difference was that now he finally believed it too. Success had not arrived because someone powerful rescued him. It arrived because integrity remained stronger than disappointment, compassion proved greater than resentment, and quiet perseverance outlasted pride. Sometimes the greatest victories aren't found in proving someone wrong. They're found in continuing to do what's right, even after the world turns away. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Heartwarming Tales so more people can discover inspiring stories like this. Blue Heart special request: before you leave, comment, kindness always finds its way back. We'd love to read your thoughts and hear what lesson this story meant to you. As the sun set over the city, its warm daylight reflecting across the glass towers that had once symbolized pride alone, Rowan walked hand in hand with Nora toward home. The company behind him had learned an unforgettable lesson about leadership, but the little girl beside him only knew one simple truth. Her father had never given up. And sometimes, the quiet courage of one ordinary person is powerful enough to change the future of everyone around them.